Hi everyone. It's Shannon Port, and I welcome you to the Art of the Feminine podcast today. We're meeting today on July 1st, and I'm just going to actually, I don't see anyone in the chat, and so, it shows I'm not signed into chat, and I'm not sure why. I'm just going to check and see if anyone's here. All right. So I don't see anyone here yet. I'm just going to take another check and see, make sure that everything is up and going as it is supposed to. So if anybody is here live, could you just let me know if you can hear me? And then I'll continue. I might have to just go, oh, yay. Okay, good to see it. Hi, Sweden. Hi. Oh, hi, Lorraine. Good to see you all. Okay, so can you guys hear me okay? And then we'll get going. Oh, wow, it's all coming in now. Perfect. Okay. Welcome to the Art of the Feminine podcast. We're here today to talk about, we have a lot to talk about today. This is Shannon Port. We're going to talk about the month of July, and we're going to talk about the eclipses and all the energies that are coming onto the planet right now. We have a lot to talk about, and I'm just going to double check this camera. So here on this platform, if you're new, we work with what I call divine archetype astrology. And so I'm from a platform that I run called Art of the Feminine. And I've been doing this work since about 2003. And so divine archetype astrology is a really special synthesis of a whole bunch of powerful universal wisdom. And the synthesis itself was birthed through the work I've done just over the years, working with a lot of different things and having a lot of revelations about how this law of correspondence works in the universe, especially through my primary interest is through the heart and through heart consciousness and through the divine feminine. And so, let's see. Today we're going to talk about the divine feminine law of attraction. And so this is the first time I've really come out and called it that, but I've been working with it for quite a while now. And I want to really in these videos start to bring that in a new way, on a new level. And this is the perfect time. It's the perfect time for that. If you would like to know more, if you want to know a little bit more about this work, there's podcasts in the playlist here on this channel at Shannon Port. There's about 52 podcasts on what I call the divine feminine wisdom. And you could also follow us at Art of the Feminine at Instagram or Facebook, both places where I share a lot of supplemental information on this type of thing that we're going to be talking about today. So I want to start out with a quote. And it goes like this. There is nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. There is nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. And it's with great joy that I say that quote today. It's Victor Hugo. Because when I first made my website back in, I think it was 2002, that was the first quote that I put on it. And so saying that today in 2019 is kind of wild, because I remember when I started Art of the Feminine and when I started teaching Lightbody Yoga, that was the idea that came to me, that when an idea's time has come, there's no stopping it. And that's where we are. And I was just taught, one of my friends was in town this weekend, my girlfriend Janae, and we just talked about what we're seeing. She's a singer-songwriter and she works in this field as well. And we were just talking about the momentum that's happening in communities. And I see it in my work with women and men, but really a lot of women too are really waking up. It's unstoppable. The momentum that's happening right now on planet Earth is building. It's so strong that people who are calling me are people who would have never even thought to pick up the phone and call me, even just maybe 6 months ago. So things are changing on our planet. We're in the Aquarian Age, and the Aquarian Age is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, the sign of the sign of the Empress and Venus, and then the sign of the Earth. And so during the next 7 years while Uranus transit the sign of Taurus, we're going to see tremendous amount of downloads and change on planet Earth. And that corresponds to the Aquarian Age, because Uranus actually governs and rules the Aquarian Age. It rules technology. And so one of the things I was talking about with my girlfriend was, and I said this to her, I hadn't seen her in person in 3 years. So it was such a treat to get to see her in person. But I said to her, I said, I said, how are you feeling? Oh my God, she's here. Yay. I said, are you feeling like the merge with technology that's happening? And she was like, yeah, it's happening. I can feel it big time. So I want to speak to that today. We are just being bombarded with this upgrade of the inorganic technology on the planet. And so go no further than any news stream to have a thought and it's right there. It doesn't matter what it is. Think about it and it shows up. Speak it even more intensely. It's there. It's on every device. It just starts popping into your field. So manifesting is speeding up. It's speeding up. It's really quick. Part of that technology is not organic. It's the AI holds a frequency that if you're not awake, it will consume you and take over and harness your feminine energy, your creative energy. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Why this is so important right now is that the North Node is in the sign of Cancer. It's in the sign of the mother, the sign of the womb. Cancer is the first water sign. We have Cancer, Scorpio, and then the deep, deep underbelly in Pisces. But Cancer is really represents that place where we house the mother energy, where we house our birthing capacity, where we house our deep, deep intuition. We're going to talk about intuitive transformation today. We're going to talk about intuition and why intuition is truly the portal to working with the solar plasma, the solar light that's coming in has to link with intuition. The intellectual mind won't cut it. It needs to go deep, deep, deep into the undercurrents of the subconscious feminine mind. Find the solar light within you and then light up. And that's how we all become a chariot or a chariot of fire, a carrier of this energy. And it's a lot of you know I'm teaching Lightbody yoga right now. We're really, really focusing on that right now because this is the time of ascension. This is the time of waking up. So I'm going to I did some writing. I couldn't help it. It just was coming in. I was trying to stop it, and I wrote a couple pages. I'm just going to take a look at what was written, and then we'll go into the planets and see what's happening right now. The new moon it's a total solar eclipse. This is super exciting because I just want to start off by saying I was shown the eclipse is the eclipse of the ego and the birth of spirit. So I talk a lot about the birthing of spirit and matter. A total solar eclipse removes a masculine energy. The solar eclipse is in Cancer, opposite the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn houses the ego. Cancer houses the body of pain. So we have this strong feminine energy. And Cancer is ruled by the moon and the sun are in Cancer at 10 degrees. The total solar eclipse is wanting to now eclipse the lower manifestation of the ego, which is birthed in Capricorn, but Capricorn is our sign of manifesting. It's the sign of the positive ability to contract and bring spirit into matter. We need that energy. The mother and father energy have to work together, but it's the underbelly, the body of pain in Cancer that's really kept us living in our inverted reality. So we're going to talk about that today. So let's see what's written here. The mother energy is the primary creative energy on our planet. This is the feminine energy. It's the creative Shakti. We all have it. We all have creative Shakti, but the mother energy in particular, especially in the species, we have women birthing the human race, basically receiving the seed from the male and birthing the human race. If the mother is not honored, the planet sinks into peril and suffering. In other words, we birth our greatest nightmare. This is the age of the return of the cosmic mother. And I like to point this out, but I did a pretty deep video on that that's on this channel. It's in the highlighted videos at the top. This is because when the North Node entered the sign of Cancer, I was just getting that this is really the return of the Cosmic Mother. In other words, the Cosmic Mother is coming in and anointing us, baptizing us, which happened at the solstice this past on June 21st, baptizing us with cosmic fire and awakening our true ability to birth spirit in matter. We are healing our mother wounds so that we can understand the pain in the human psyche. So just taking a moment, I'm going to just check in and let you digest that for a moment. So nice to see you guys. Oh, I had so much fun with my friend Janae. I'm going to have her on the channel one day. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we talked about. We're healing our mother wounds. So by mother wound, we don't just mean our wound with our own mother, but we mean also the wound with our internal mother, which is our subconscious mind. We have to make peace with the subconsciousness of our being. There's a secret kind of hatred and disdain we have for the mother because she actually is carrying our wound and we don't know what to do with it. We can't see it. We have secret rage. It's under the surface. The feminine has been hidden. She dropped into the underworld. We can't quite see what's there, and it makes us really angry. It makes us triggered. It makes us feel like we don't know who we are, and we really don't. But we're awakening vision, which is one of the gifts of intuition, to be able to understand what's buried inside us. So this solar eclipse, helping us to clear out the ego and bring in the spirit, which gives us spiritual vision and awakens our higher properties, spiritual hearing, spiritual speaking, spiritual seeing. All of these are the gift of the awakened human being. So we need to understand the pain, obviously, of the human psyche so that we can have compassion and just heal it. It's like most people are at the place where we're like, enough already. In fact, I watched the Democratic debates, and I only tuned in for I think it was the second half of the second night, and I was like, floored. I called my son. I was like, "Are you watching this?" He was over at his dad's house, and he's like, "Yeah, Mom." It's like, he could see through so much of it. I couldn't, and he's a Gen Z. Some of it seemed politics always has a lot of humor. There's a lot of humor in some of the things you hear and see if you're awake, but some of the things that were coming out of people's mouths were so old paradigm. The vibration could not stick. It has zero power. In other words, we're not there to receive it. If you're not there to receive it, it has no power. No, I did see a few good things, and I didn't see all of it. But I saw a couple things said by Marianne, and I saw a couple things said by Pete, who I'm a fan of, and that's all I'm going to say, because this isn't political, but it was kind of fun to watch the difference, and even to see how people speak, how people listen and present ideas in this new paradigm. The power of the word is key, and ranting and speaking from ego and speaking from the illusion is just going to evaporate and dissolve. There's a certain program that's trying to latch onto that and push it through into the AI, but and we're dealing with that right now. So there is a lot of us are still dealing with it and sorting things out, but it's losing power fast. We're understanding within our own subconscious mind the pain of separation when we lost our intuition. The Divine Mother is our consciousness that allows us to know, to have sacred union and gnosis. So we say mother, but it's not really a person, even though there are many archetypal energies and embodiments of souls, great master souls that have embodied the mother energy. She herself is our consciousness of our subconscious mind. That's who she is. We need to know her, honor her, and use the power of her intuition to have true seeing. That separation is the original separation. When we lost her, we felt that we were abandoned. The light coming in from the above, the galactic center is a representation of the supernal mother, the high mother Sophia, connecting with the daughter Sophia in the earth and awakening our heart. Each one of us holds Sophia, a divine feminine principle in our heart as well. And so I've done a video, I think, where I called it the triple Magdalene, Mary Magdalene triple heart activation. But we are the above, the below is activating within us. We are the alchemical vehicles of this entire shifting consciousness. Each one of us is a cradle or a womb of that awakening. Each one of us is completely as important as every other person. And we're going to talk about that today, because part of the feminine wound involves competition, vanity, materialism, not understanding each other. Each one of us is at one point in the cosmic unity, and we all have the same value. We're carrying different frequencies, but we're all just dots of the same great dot. We're all rays of the cosmic sun. And so when you shift that and you come into your mind and you understand that, you start to realize that we're just playing. We're all playing with each other. And the more you start to play with your fellow human beings, when you honor your fellow human beings, you're honoring yourself. When you come into that celebration of life with human beings and you hold the vision of the highest for everyone you meet, you yourself are lifted up, because it's only an extension of yourself. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we're healing the belief that we are separate. We also feel that we've been separated from the mother's sun, which is spirit. It's the Christ principle. She birthed that principle, and we actually are that principle. So when we connect with the archetype of that, we're lighting it up in our own heart, and we become the Christed human, which is divinely sacred, as we all know. So with it has nothing to do with religion, even though all the great traditions speak of this. Every last one holds this. It's not, it belongs to no one. It belongs to everyone. Without healing this wound, we can create, but it will always be from polarity rather than, I must have misnumbered a page, rather than from unity. Oh, from infinity. Oh, wow. I got a page off there. So if we when we're in the ego of Capricorn, which is we're going to have a partial lunar eclipse coming up in 2 weeks. Huge. Saturn will be opposite Venus at that time. Pluto's conjunct the eclipse. The South Node is conjunct the eclipse. We are booting out ego consciousness, otherwise known as the lower version of patriarchal programming. And so this eclipse is here to do that. When we are just to get one thing really, make one thing really clear, our mind and our heart are the most powerful. They're God source energy, whether you are in your ego or whether you are in infinity consciousness. It doesn't matter where you fall on the spectrum. You know, the source gave us the power to create in her image. We are the exact creative force. And so everything that we create, everything we think and speak and do, has the creative force of God behind it. It just comes down to, are we harnessing the force of bondage, or are we harnessing the force of liberation? Those two come together and meet in the heart. And that's where we balance them as the high priestess. That's where we truly work with the forces and become master alchemists, which is what we really are, the avatars of being. And it's the destiny of all of us to have that. So what we're doing here is learning how to create with divine will. I'm going to get to the aspects. I'm not going to speak as much about where the planets are at this. This is mostly the heart of where we're going. It's leading us up to the next eclipse. So I want to finish this and then we'll jump into the planet. So Cancer represents divine will. It represents divine will, and it represents the container that holds the divine will. Without us creating the container, we are just, I always like to say water, when water can come down and water takes the path of least resistance. Until we have a container, the water won't find us. Even the cosmic light, it needs to find our organized consciousness in order for it to implant in us and raise up the consciousness within us that has fallen. So, in that way, we're activating the divine will when we do that. Divine will is held in the sign Cancer. Our ability to balance the forces is represented as well in the sign of Cancer. And the sign of Cancer is the archetype, the chariot works through the archetype of temperance, of the great arc of alchemy. Cancer is the Hebrew letter Ket, and it works through Samech, the Hebrew letter Samech, which is found in Sagittarius. It's the archetype of temperance. The sign Cancer is our intuitive ability to balance the light and the dark forces. We take the above and we take the below, and we take that admixture, we purify it in our heart, and we birth our new human consciousness. The moon is the receiver of intuition. On the tree of life, the moon is Yesod, and it receives all the rays. All the cosmic rays have to find the lunar principle, which is represented in the sign Cancer. Without it, no divine will can be accessed. We can't access the divine will without the mother. That's the whole thing, is that without mother energy, there's no divine will on earth. We're living in the fallen consciousness. We live in the ego. We birthed the ego. We birthed it. We all birthed it. We birthed it when we fell. We became the birthers of the inversion of reality. Our society has been severed from the pure, receptive flow of abundance. So this is where we're getting into the divine feminine law of attraction, which I'm going to be working with in videos in the coming weeks on this channel, that we create. So my point in talking about the mind and heart being creative force is that that's all law of attraction. We're constantly creating through the law of attraction. But if we create in polarity, we get polarity in every single thing that we manifest. There is a special process of transcending polarity within to create from divine will. And that's what this is really about. We birth through divine will, through the sign of Cancer, and on the axis of Capricorn and Cancer, because they're both incredibly important in this process. Capricorn is the sign of the devil and the sign of manifesting, the sign of birthing spirit in matter. Cancer will determine, because she houses the body of pain, what we're birthing. I mean, she has all the say. What we birth, whatever's in our body of pain, we birth. So I see, and I know that for a while now, that has really blown up on YouTube and everywhere. Everyone that comes to me is like, oh, I've done the law of attraction. And without understanding that we can create and use those principles, but whatever's inside us is the quality of what we get. When there's a lot about manifesting a person or a date or a this or a that, whatever consciousness we hold, that's what we manifest. And we might get it, but then all the lessons that we need to learn are going to come right in with it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because we actually need to work through those things. And I say this from personal experience, but also having had the opportunity to work through a lot of it and understand how we can accelerate. This is an accelerated process that we're going to be going into here, to healing the wound. We want to accelerate that, because it's time to ascend. All right. Our own ignorance, this blocks the flow of abundance through the subconscious mind. We are caught up in the labyrinth of the lower astral forces, which create havoc in our lives. We live in the world of the astral forces, and it's the reason. I'll just take a moment to talk about technology. The reason that the thing that happens with technology is that it undermines, when we give ourselves to it fully, it undermines our ability to be sovereign. We're not really sovereign. When we're running our technology every which way and we're not really awake, we lose our sovereignty, because it's so seductive. It's the dark forces have figured out how to trigger and latch and hook the wounds we have inside us. So what they're doing is they're harnessing the mother's creative power and reproducing the fallen principle. in the world. We see for the unawake consciousness is that's locked into technology. Sovereignty has been handed over, and the force that is pulling down the gravity that is pulling us and keeping us in 3D is using that power. That is, it's the Shakti power, but it's another grade of Shakti. It's a very subtle level of this energy. It's our soul energy. It's our vital energy. And I've written and spoken a lot about this in some of the newsletters. One I wrote called The Virgins of Light, but it's our purity. And it's a very particular grade of that consciousness that we're speaking to here, represented by the moon in Cancer. And so that's why this is so sacred. So this total solar eclipse. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, there's so much. The solar eclipse releases plasma consciousness through its radiation to quicken through its radiation our consciousness. So that's what's happening at the eclipse. If you just think about it, we are the solar eclipse is going to come in, it's going to blast us. It's a new moon, so it starts a new cycle of consciousness, but it's going to affect we have a sun in our mind. I talk a lot about this in Lightbody Yoga. So we have we have 7 major suns. We have all kinds of other chakras and portals, but this law of 7 governs the law of 12 and the law of 3. It works right in the center and becomes the chalice or the chariot to harness the above and the below. So we have a sun in every single center. We have an egoic consciousness or a spirit consciousness in each one of our centers. The solar eclipse is kind of regenerating and starting a new cycle for us. So if we use that energy, we can be available for the higher plasma that's coming in to shift the consciousness on Earth, to raise our vibration. So then we begin to feel and sense another reality beyond the veil of illusion. We always talk about I did a podcast a long time ago called Lifting the Veil of Venus, but Venus is veiled. Underneath Venus is spirit and is the truth of who we are. And it has a lot to do with that solar energy. And that's the energy that we're wanting to access right now. The sun represents the ego. It also represents spirit. The sun really is the highest manifestation of ego. It's the ego in its true form. The lower ego is the fallen ego. It's like the demiurge or the Yaldabaoth of the Gnostics. It's the sun consciousness fell into the feminine birthed a lower form that's keeping us bondage right now. It created this matrix, which is a membrane that's locked in our consciousness so that we're creating over and over in the lower world. And we don't have to do that anymore. We're going to be dealing with some things, and this next year is a really exciting year. It's the year of the sun. It's 2019. So we're still in it, but it's accelerated for sure. So it creates a cloudy, hazy perception when we're in the ego mind. The sun represents ego spirit. This total solar eclipse is the eclipse to the ego to activate the divine line. All right, so I'm just going to look and see if there's any questions, and I'll go through the planets and tell you the big things I see. Again, this is mostly the heart of what I wanted to talk about, but now I'm going to point out some law of correspondence and talk a little bit more about the mother energy. I'm just going to take a peek and see. I have this on creepy level from Rome. Oh, hi in Rome. Oh, I love Italy so much. All right. But I know we've got our fair share. Oh, it's so great to see you. I know we've got our fair share of dark coming from that part of the world. So, I mean, there is so much. When we get into the lunar eclipse next week, the partial lunar eclipse, so make sure to check us out. We do live streams every week. We are going to talk about the fallen dark forces and the patriarchal forces next week. In fact, it's going to be really good. So, but we'll talk about that. I wanted to keep it really positive today, and we'll talk about the fall of the dark, the fall of the patriarchy next week. That's what it's going to be. Much love to all of you. All right, I don't see any questions. Just going to see if there's anything. When is the eclipse? Oh, the eclipse is tomorrow. Eclipse is July 2nd. So the eclipse is July 2nd. It's at 3:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 12:17 for you guys out in in California, and then 5 hours later it will be falling in UK time. So it's on the second, and then those energies are going to be really active, right? And this whole month, we had the solstice, which is I called the solar consciousness in the last video. I talked a lot about that solar energy that's coming in now. We're going to be moving up into the lunar eclipse. And then we have a new moon in Leo in July. So we have the 3 lunations in July this month. And then we move into Lionsgate portal. So the question I want to ask you, and to come back and leave comments if you can, you can't do it during a live stream, is, are you feeling this transformation? Because it feels like, even in just the past week or two, and talking to my girlfriend, we talked about it. It's so on right now, and we'll talk about ways you can deal with any disturbances that might be coming in. But I'll give you a couple right now. So one of the ways to really, really access the divine feminine law of attraction is to forget everything you know. And I'm working with a practice called Lightbody Stargate. Let go of everything that you know. Just drop it all. And begin to just, feel into yourself and understand the truth that lives within you. It's very simple. Just walk out of your ego for a moment. I have people drop their bodies and just walk out of it. And come into that place where you're just vibration. And this isn't the absolute. This is a place where everybody else can be, but they're without their bodies. There's no more ego. There's no more. Our ego bodies go through time. They go through the time matrix. They're born. They're youthful. We go through maiden, mother, crone. But in this place, we're pure spirit. Even though we have our particular ego, because we're all meant to keep that. Even as we ascend, we're keeping our particular mission or our particular energy on the planet. But feel that. And just begin to sit with the idea that every single human being is divine. Forget every judgment. We're going to be talking about judgment big time next week, but every single judgment that you've had, you can let it go. You don't have to carry it any longer. I read the best quote yesterday. It was a quote that said, somebody asked a monk, "What is anger?" And the monk replied, or the sage replied, "Anger is the way we punish ourselves for another person's mistake." I'm so happy I remembered that. It so struck me. Anger is the way that we punish ourselves for another person's mistake or ignorance. In other words, when we have anger, we feel it. Anger, rage. Sometimes we have to have it. It really stirs that cauldron in the underworld of the Cancer, the subconscious mind. But we don't have to carry it. This is the new paradigm, the age of Aquarius. You can let it go. You don't have to carry anger for the sins of the father any longer. In fact, when you release your anger, you will release the other person that you're angry at from being trapped in their own mistake. This is a new way of forgiving and a new way of regenerating that we're coming into. It's really big. So we're getting back to the divine feminine law of attraction. So in this space, all bets are off. Let go of everything. Just free yourself. Liberation, because true sign of Capricorn and the true devil, the devil is here to liberate you. The devil is not really what we think it is. The devil is the mind, and it's our own mind that we've turned on ourselves. When we own the power of our mind, we are working with the true creative power. So let go of all judgment and just say, I've had enough of the underworld. I want to be a living vehicle of ascended consciousness here on the planet. Like, I understand. I'm not going to turn my back on all the things that have been the injustice that have been perpetrated, and I don't intend to either. Anyone who's known me for a while knows I've done like 52 podcasts on the new human sexual paradigm, and healing sexuality is the major work of this platform. because we have to understand how we've misused the sexual energy. However, and that's big right now in this movement, but the trap is that when we get so in it, we hurt ourselves, and then we become part of the problem rather than part of the solution. When we get in that AI so strongly, we lose our own organic creative power, the true creative imagination that's within us. And this is all the work at Art of the Feminine has been about the true power of the creative imagination. And I recommend it to, if you're interested in that, there's many, many podcasts in the playlist in this on this channel at Shannon Port, that the true creative imagination is of the heart. And the heart cannot, the higher chamber of the heart cannot be hindered by judgment, by hatred, by even by jealousy, competition. I've talked about all of these in separate videos. Vanity, materialism, and greed and power, and all the things of the lower patriarchal world. Which just make no mistake, the lower patriarchal world is both masculine and feminine. It's not just masculine. The patriarchy, it represents, we call it the patriarchy because it represents a very particular dominance of the Mars energy and the contracted male energy, but it's held up by the feminine energy. And so we are rewriting the entire system. And so I'm going to take one more peek down and then take a look at some of these other things that I jotted. This is what we're doing. Okay. Oh, so I'm going to just stick with that for one more moment. So within this space, and find someone that's really hard to forgive. All of the people who most trigger you, bring them on in. Bring them on in. I think of it as like a big, just to bring them into your womb, invite them in and have a talk with spirit in this space. Any space where you're speaking from your ego, the ego sneaks in through the back door. You might think you're using it, the power of the word to heal something. If the ego is there, it will own it. It will trick you. It will make you think you have forgiven or done this, but the ego owns most of our transactions. In this space, no. In this space, spirit owns it, and the true power of the heart prevails, and it regenerates our power. And so the reason I ask you to start with people that are difficult is because that's where most of your energy is trapped. Whoever triggers you, whoever you're competing with, whoever you think has done you wrong, that is where you want to work it out first, because that will make everything else seem so easy. And this is easier than we're being told in the world. It's much easier, but you have to do it. Nobody can do that for you. So once you're in that space, you want to see that other as you, and just no matter what they've done, say, oh, that's me. I did that. Wow, I did it. And don't just stay with me for a second. Just imagine that you did that thing that you're super angry with. There is a certain way to release our power, and this is one of those. We talk about unity, we talk about the law of one, but until you have downloaded it and lived it, it means nothing. Intellectual knowledge, it can't ascend us. Intellectual knowledge, as brilliant as it is, if you're talking about it and teaching it, but you haven't yet had the initiations that made it awake inside you, then you'll have those. But we can get them the hard way, or we can get them the way where we do it, where we're proactive about it. And I've lived through both, but I've also taken some hard ones. And the hard ones, actually, if you are somebody who had to go through hard initiations, just know that you will carry a power that is so great, because once you know that you can go through a consciousness pattern that felt like it was going to take you out, and you get to the other side of that, the gifts of that are so healing for not just you, but for the whole race. And there's such a freedom and such a divine love that comes out of that. And so what happens is when we're trying to manifest, but we're still holding the wound, we're manifesting with the 3D law of attraction. Even the 5D is like, it's, there's a deeper well within us. But when we truly hit unity and understand it, we transcend the wound. Because what happens is when you bring somebody in, or when you are trying to fight a battle, if it's hooked into your wound, you will get to the place where you clear it, but you'll have to go on that ride with it first. And it's very, very painful to have to go into that and then rise out of it. And but if you do have to go there, when you rise out, you will be baptized in pure light. So no, we have to know ourselves. We have to know what we're carrying. So because if we know it here, and I can say for years when I was much, much younger, I came in with a lot of the wisdom. It was just there. It was awake. But I didn't know what was hidden in my subconscious mind. It was my familial wounds and my DNA that was carrying a wound lifetime after lifetime. We can't see that. We don't know. And so even though you know it, and you are you can even be walking around talking about it, if the other thing keeps showing up in your field, it means that it's not cleared fully within. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's the work we're doing, and that is the work of these eclipses in Capricorn, in Cancer, and in Capricorn. So let me just take a quick peek at some of the other things that I wrote. Yeah, intuition. So intuitive transformation is part of what this is about. So we're going to talk later about how we begin to some of the steps and the principles of creating from the divine feminine law of attraction. However, it's about intuition. Intuition is the link that opens the heart. Intuition cannot be fully accessed until we've forgiven everybody, until we have a true vision of what humanity is really about. As long as we're seeing in the old paradigm, we can't be in the Aquarian age. We have to create the new. We have to be creators of the new. When that is our true, we can tell the truth, and we're meant to, but we have to tell the truth in an expansive way. When we're birthing the light into the minds of others, we want to. Fear is the negative contractive principle. It's used. We need fear for certain things in fight or flight. A little fear wakes us up. It's a jolt of Shakti. But creating from fear is 3D. We live in a 3D created world. And so that's what we are transcending. We're creating from the heart in order to release fear. And I've said this before, but fear is Shakti. It's the trap Shakti. We have to have a higher understanding of what humanity is about, and what even the dark forces are about. Once we understand that, we'll realize that they have to bow to us. They really, really do. And we'll realize that even the negative intentions of this reality, which are definitely negative, there's something so weak about them. When you see them, you'll see it. They start to get really weak. You start to understand it was such a mistake of ignorance, and the gripping onto it, the energies that are deeply, deeply dark, and trying to hold that and perpetuate that and keep that, are so mistaken. They're only accessing such a small amount of power, and using the power of, and I talk a lot about this in New Human Sexual Paradigm, using the sexual energy of the masses to trap it in this lower fallen paradigm. So let's just take a look at the planets really quick. The sun and moon in Cancer, Mars in Leo. Oh, I want to say this. Mars is in Leo at 0 degrees. 0 degrees in initiation, sign of initiation, squaring Uranus. In Taurus, Uranus rules the age of Aquarius. Uranus is in the sign of the Earth Mother. Mercury is at 3 degrees Leo, the sign of the Empress, activating in Mercury. All planets in Leo are super alchemical. Venus is going to be entering into Leo. Venus will actually be in Cancer at the partial lunar eclipse coming up, exact square against Saturn. So that's something to watch in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be a strong energy, because Venus is the heart, and she's going to be challenging the fallen energy of Capricorn. And the moon, the subconscious principle, is going to be in Capricorn. So it's going to be a show. We're going to want to watch it. Okay, Athena at 13 degrees Libra, squaring Athena's wisdom and justice in the sign of Libra, the balance of the heart, the goddess Ma'at, squaring the new moon, amping it up, giving it some power. Pallas Athena in Libra at 13 degrees. Jupiter's in Sagittarius at 16 degrees retrograde, squaring Neptune. Neptune is in, I think Neptune's still 18 degrees of Pisces. Saturn is in Capricorn at 17 degrees, sextile to Neptune, which is a nice spiritual flow of energy for all of this. Pluto, and they're conjunct the south. Saturn is exact conjunct the south node. So the south node, the nodes of the moon are the subconscious mind. When we understand the nodes of the moon, we're understanding that subconscious mind of humanity. The north node is like our Cancer energy, and the south node is like our Pisces energy, and Scorpio's in between. So, because Scorpios were the cauldron, it's death and rebirth. So, Cancer is like the crystalline waters of the top. Scorpio is the deep, or Pisces is our deep, deep dark, and where we do the work is with Scorpio energy. All three of the water signs. So, Saturn is conjunct the Pisces node, the south node, and the 12th house. It's the underworld and bondage. The south node is where we're in bondage, and Saturn represents bondage and contraction. So Saturn is karmic, and so the south node is karmic because it's where we carry the things that we can't see, things that we've done over and over again. Some of those things are hidden from us. Saturn's going to bring it's a karmic kind of type of situation going on there. So, but opposite Venus in a couple weeks, there's going to be a challenge between the heart. I mean, Venus and Saturn are both feminine principles. Saturn is the contractive principle, and Venus is the heart energy. So that's really big. And Pluto's there too. So Pluto's going to be conjunct the full moon in Capricorn on the 16th. The 16th is the Tower. Come on, it's going to be like, that's going to be a big full moon. And Eris, okay, Chiron in Aries, Eris in Aries. And right now, Venus is still in Gemini. So I'm just going to look at and see if there's any 218. Oh, wow. We went, okay, so we've gone a while. I'm going to look for questions and see. Let me see. Just check my notes really quick too. And then I'll check questions. All right. Oh, so Cancer, I want to say the wound is in Cancer. Do not give, this is, I wrote this down. Do not give manifesting to the wound. Don't do it. That if you manifest through your wound, you're going to want to bring, you're going to create the wound. Even in love relationships, we're creating from the wound. We want to, there's steps to that I'm going to be going over. Yeah, don't fear the wounds. So yes, great questions. I've had people open to old wounds recently. That's meant to happen. If someone comes in your field and an old wound is triggered, pay attention to it like it's your child. Pretend you have a child that's wounded and you need to comfort them or console them. That's what we do for our wounds are our children. Yeah, oh nice. Yeah. And Yod also represents that firepower. It's the firepower of the Hebrew alphabet. So it's like it's Shin, it's Shakti. We're going to be talking a lot about Shin next week. Okay, I want to say something else that we'll be talking more about. We need, in order to use the positive contractive power, we need focus. This is the gift of Capricorn. We're going to be talking a lot about that next week. And I don't see a lot of questions. I'll give it just another minute. So you will get both the desire and the pain if you give manifesting to your wound in one package. Welcome to 3D. We need to contract the power of the father to focus the energy that lands in the womb of the mother, which is the seed, to impregnate the mother with power and pure love. So that's it. All right. Thank you so much. Wishing everyone a really, really happy solar eclipse. It's tomorrow, but this energy is on all month. We do weekly live streams here. Make sure to subscribe if you want to get notified when we're going live, and you can join us in the chat. And come join us on Instagram at Art of the Feminine if you're on Instagram. So that being said, I'm just scanning the rest of it, and I think that's it. All right. Oh, hi. So nice to see familiar faces. Wishing you a beautiful, beautiful week. May we all manifest from the heart. May we all just start to spread this joy, spread joy on this planet. We can use it. So powerful. There's a new way. And I'm telling you, the momentum is greater than it's ever been. Find the light. See the dark, but find the light and just be with it, share with it, laugh with it, and create with it. So that being said, I will see you soon. I'm going to try to do another live stream soon. Namaste.